Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping right through the front doors of our own homes. Now, we aren't just looking at furniture or, doing chores. We're going on a really fascinating journey to discover the hidden literature of your very own dinner table. We're going to see exactly how everyday habits hold incredible meaning. So let's dive right into this.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. First up, setting the stage. Second, the household rhythm. Third, we'll look at the microscopic mirror. Fourth, author frameworks. Fifth, the Talaarawan synthesis. And finally, we'll wrap up with a mastery check review.
All right, part 1, setting the stage, lesson objectives. So, whenever we approach a new text, we absolutely need to know what we're looking for, right? And today, well, that text is your own family dynamic. Here are our core goals. First, we're going to deconstruct routine household interactions. Think about things like shared seating arrangements, and we'll treat them as readable microtexts. Second, we're going to analyze how these private traditions actively shape your personal identity and your emotional resilience. And finally, we'll formulate a structured entry in your Talaarawan. The big takeaway here? We are literally transforming your everyday private life into a rich, analytical piece of literature.
Your home is a story worth reading. It's incredibly powerful when you reconsider your home environment as a profound literary text. Really think about it. The habits you practice every single day, well, they're the exact building blocks that made you who you are today.
Moving right along to part 2, the household rhythm, elicit and engage.
I'd love for you to do a really quick 24-hour review with me. Just open up your mental notebook and isolate one specific household interaction from last night. Maybe it was preparing a family meal, or perhaps it was a recurring comment or a specific phrase from an elder in your home. Or, maybe it was simply the division of evening chores and that inevitable debate over who forgot to take out the trash. Got it? Okay, hold on to that concrete memory.
Now just listen to this beautiful vignette. In our house, the old wooden table belongs to Papa's tools during the day and Lola's mixing bowls by 5. Nobody ever announced where to sit, yet we always occupied the exact same spots. When the electricity cuts out during stormy nights, the rhythm doesn't stop. Hands pass plates in the dark without spilling a drop, guided entirely by the shared familiarity of our habits. Wow. Just think about the deep emotional anchor of that familiar rhythm.
All right, let's move to part 3, the microscopic mirror, analyzing domesticity.
With that emotional storytelling kind of anchoring us, it's time to introduce the core metaphor of our explainer, the microscopic mirror. See, a household is never actually isolated. Rather, it's the exact site where larger economic realities and ancestral cultural values crash right into your personal well-being. Your home basically reflects the world's macro shifts on a micro scale. So, by looking at the incredibly small, we actually learn how to understand the large.
But how do we actually identify these reflections in our everyday lives? Well, first, we look for spatial anchors. These are the precise physical objects or areas where your family interactions organically cluster together. It could be a specific bench, a certain corner of the kitchen, or even just a concrete doorstep. These spaces carry a massive amount of emotional weight.
Next up, we map linguistic phrases. These are the recurring words, the unique expressions, or specific local idioms that are used uniquely inside your home. Think of it as a unique vocabulary that builds a shared cultural text belonging entirely to your family.
And finally, we have role behaviors. Now, these are those unspoken responsibilities and predictable habits. They aren't just annoying chores. Actually, they are vital acts of care that maintain the home's emotional ecosystem and fiercely protect the family unit. On to part 4, author frameworks, global literature.
So, how does this whole shebang tie into global literature? Let's start with Salman Rushdie and the concept of the family microcosm. Rushdie proposes that a family table is never isolated from history. The way resources are shared, the topics debated at your dinner table, these are actually direct reflections of broader national, economic, and social shifts. So your local dinner conversation, it is quite literally national history happening in miniature.
Next up is the brilliant Toni Morrison, who frames the home as a sanctuary. Basically, in a highly complex or rapidly changing world, the domestic sphere functions as a vital protective space. The simple family routines and stories passed down by elders, they preserve collective memory and act as a psychological sanctuary, supporting long-term personal resilience. And this brilliantly illustrates our third framework by Homi Bhabha, the hybrid home culture. Baba explains that modern households operate as active third spaces of cultural translation. When younger generations blend those ancestral values with modern challenges, or, mix regional dialects with global media expressions right at the dinner table, they are actively building a living, hybrid personal identity.
Let's look at Part 5, the Talaarawan synthesis, journaling.
Okay, now it's time to bring all of this deep theory into an actionable blueprint for your own personal reading log, or Talaarawan. It's a highly structured three-step process. Step 1 is the objective domestic observation. You systematically isolate a specific interaction or spatial routine, just the facts. Step 2 is the personal identity interface. This is where you explain exactly how this routine shapes your identity based on your heritage. And step 3 is the theoretical synthesis. Link your private observation back to one of those contemporary literary theories we just discussed, proving how your private setting is actually a microcosm for the real world.
Final section, Part 6, Mastery Check Review, Testing Your Knowledge.
All right, we've covered a ton of ground today, so here is your first challenge. When a contemporary writer uses internal household interactions to reflect broader national developments, which of our author frameworks is being applied? Take a quick second to recall the connection between the micro-home and the macro-nation.
If you guessed the family microcosm, you are absolutely right. This is Salman Rushdie's concept at work, reminding us that major historical transformations and shifts reach all the way down to our dining tables.
Okay, here's your second question. Thinking back to our highly structured blueprint we just went over, what exactly is required in Step 1 of your Talaarawan entry?
The answer? It must be grounded in specific physical realities and routines. We absolutely must start with the concrete, objective observation before we ever attempt to jump into those big global theories.
We're going to wrap up today's explainer with this really powerful final thought from our source material. Literature is a living mirror. It gains its power from your courage to look closely at your own reflection. I want to challenge you to look completely differently at your own family routines tonight. What global themes are playing out in your living room right now? Thanks so much for exploring with me, and keep observing.